I thought I was the little yellow monster getting gobbled up. I think the rewards more than compensate. It's just something you have to learn to live with.
For 11 seasons, Loretta Swit brought Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan to life on m.a.s.h, becoming one of television's most beloved characters. But behind the scenes, the actress who won 2 Emmy Awards for her portrayal was fighting battles that had nothing to do with the Korean War. What Loretta Swit absolutely hated about her time on m.a.s.h will shock longtime fans of the show. From being trapped in a demeaning stereotype to facing a boys' club atmosphere that made her feel like an outsider, Loretta's experience was far more challenging than viewers ever imagined. The grueling working conditions, the way serious issues were handled, and her struggle to break free from typecasting created a perfect storm of frustration that haunted her throughout the show's run. These 5 things she hated about m.a.s.h reveal the dark side of television's golden age. Being stereotyped as hot lips. From the pilot episode, Margaret Houlihan was written as the hot nurse, an object of desire and often a punchline. Loretta Swit, a classically trained stage actress, struggled deeply with her character's image and the way it reduced her to a sexual stereotype rather than recognizing her as a serious performer. The nickname Hot Lips became both a blessing and a curse for Loretta. While it made her character memorable and helped establish m.a.s.h as a cultural phenomenon, it also trapped her in a role that she felt didn't reflect her true abilities as an actress. The character was initially written with broad strokes as a comical, one-dimensional antagonist to the main cast. What frustrated Loretta most was how the writers leaned heavily into her character's sex appeal, rather than exploring her depth as an officer and a nurse. In early scripts, Houlihan was portrayed as someone to be laughed at rather than respected, which went against everything Loretta believed about the real women who served as military nurses. Loretta fought constantly, both publicly and behind the scenes, to ensure that Margaret was portrayed as competent and proud, not just someone to giggle at. She understood that her character represented real women who had served with distinction in military conflicts, and she felt a responsibility to honor their service with dignity. The battle to elevate Margaret beyond the stereotype was ongoing throughout the series. In later seasons, when Margaret got more substance and character development, Loretta's performance truly shone. She won 2 Emmy Awards in 1980 and 1982, proving her commitment to transforming the character from cliché to a complex human being. The Boys Club atmosphere. m.a.s.h launched in 1972, a time when television sets were dominated by men, and the show's environment was no exception. Loretta Swit was often the only woman among the male principals for days at a time, creating an atmosphere that frequently made her feel isolated and undervalued. The Boys Club mentality wasn't just about numbers, it was about whose voices were heard and respected. Loretta's ideas and concerns about her character and storylines were sometimes disregarded or misunderstood by the male-dominated writing staff and production team. She had to work twice as hard to be heard in creative discussions. As Loretta later reflected, a woman's voice was not always as valued, especially in comedy. I fought for Margaret's respect, and sometimes I had to fight for my own. This constant battle for recognition and respect took an emotional toll that viewers never saw on screen. The situation was complicated by what Loretta described as locker room humor that could make the set feel uncomfortable and exclusionary. While she became close friends with several castmates like Alan Alda and Jamie Farr, the overall atmosphere often reminded her that she was outnumbered and fighting for her place. Loretta's persistence in demanding better treatment and more substantial storylines helped pave the way for more nuanced female characters on television in the decades that followed. Her willingness to speak up about these issues, even when it created tension, demonstrated her commitment to improving conditions for women in the industry. Long, grueling working hours. Filming m.a.s.h meant recreating the harsh conditions of a combat hospital, often under equally demanding real-world circumstances. The shooting days regularly stretched from dawn until well after dusk, sometimes lasting 14 hours or more, taking a severe toll on the cast and crew. Loretta and the cast wore heavy, unflattering army uniforms under sweltering California sun for realism. The outdoor set at Malibu Creek State Park was often dusty, hot, and uncomfortable, a far cry from Hollywood glamour. The conditions were deliberately harsh to maintain the show's authentic feel, but they made every day a physical and mental challenge. The emotional demands were just as exhausting as the physical ones. Scenes dealing with life and death, the horrors of war, and personal trauma required intense emotional preparation and recovery. Loretta had to tap into deep wells of emotion day after day, often with little time to decompress between takes. As Loretta once described it, there were days we'd arrive on set before sunrise, and we'd leave when it was pitch black outside. You'd forget what your own bed felt like. The relentless schedule left little time for personal life or creative pursuits outside the show. The practical joke scenes, bugle calls, and surgical montages required endless takes to get right. The perfectionist approach that made m.a.s.h great also meant that scenes were shot and reshot until they met the high standards everyone demanded. This attention to detail was admirable, but exhausting for everyone involved. The grueling schedule was particularly challenging for Loretta because she was in nearly every episode, making her one of the hardest-working actors on television. The physical and emotional demands of maintaining Margaret's character arc across 11 seasons while working these brutal hours was a testament to her professionalism and dedication. The way serious issues were handled. For all its laughter, m.a.s.h was fundamentally a show about war, pain, and loss. Loretta sometimes found it difficult to reconcile the sitcom's zany humor with the heartbreaking subject matter, particularly when it came to how the series portrayed military nurses and their contributions to the war effort. Loretta was especially vocal about wanting the series to treat military nurses with more depth and seriousness. She felt strongly that these women were the real heroes, facing blood, death, and tragedy every day, and their stories deserved to be told with respect and authenticity, rather than being reduced to romantic subplots or comic relief. She occasionally clashed with writers over episodes that she felt trivialized real-life trauma or failed to give nurses their due recognition. Storylines that focused primarily on Margaret's romantic entanglements often overshadowed her professional brilliance and the important work she was supposed to be doing as head nurse, as she argued in a 2002 panel discussion. "I think sometimes the show missed opportunities to show the heart and backbone of these women. That always bothered me." This frustration stemmed from her deep respect for the real women who had served in similar circumstances, and her desire to honor their sacrifice. Her advocacy for more serious treatment of nursing storylines eventually led to some of the show's most powerful episodes, where Margaret's professional competence and emotional depth were fully displayed. Being typecast and struggling to break free. The irony of Loretta Swit's television fame was that it made her both a superstar and a prisoner of one role. After m.a.s.h ended, she discovered that her iconic portrayal of Hot Lips had created a typecasting problem that would plague her for years to come. Despite winning 2 Emmy Awards and being part of one of television's most successful series, Loretta found herself struggling to land roles that matched her range and ambition. Hollywood seemed unable to see her as anything other than Margaret Houlihan, limiting her opportunities to explore different types of characters. As she lamented in a 2009 interview, "To millions, I'll always be Hot Lips. It's flattering, but it's a double-edged sword. Hollywood has a short memory for anything else you might do." This recognition brought both blessing and curse. Instant recognition, but limited opportunities for growth. The typecasting was particularly frustrating because Loretta had extensive theater training and experience before m.a.s.h. She was capable of dramatic roles, comedy beyond military settings, and character work that had nothing to do with her television persona. But casting directors couldn't see past the uniform and the nickname. By the 1990s and 2000s, Loretta had largely stepped away from Hollywood, throwing herself into animal activism and art. While she never stopped working entirely, she found herself relegated to supporting roles in TV movies and guest spots, rather than the leading roles her talent deserved. What surprised you most about Loretta's m.a.s.h experience? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more behind-the-scenes stories. Thanks for watching.